In the sprawling, neon-lit corridors of Jefferson High, an eclectic mix of students from across the galaxy shuffled between classes. The school was a microcosm of Earth's new reality, a place where diverse species coexisted, learning both academics and the subtle art of interspecies diplomacy. Amidst this vibrant chaos, Zara, a young girl from Proxima B, took her first tentative steps into the unknown. Zara's appearance was captivating. Her skin glowed with a soft, ethereal light, a common trait among her people, but a rarity on Earth. Her eyes, wide and expressive, held the deep indigo hue of her home planet's twilight sky, speckled with tiny shimmering flecks like distant stars. Her hair, if it could be called that, resembled a flowing veil of cosmic dust, shifting in hues as she moved. Her arrival at Jefferson High did not go unnoticed. Whispers followed her down the hallways, a mixture of curiosity and the all-too-human trait of skepticism towards the unfamiliar. Zara, for her part, tried to remain unobtrusive, her gaze fixed on the device that served as her guide to the school's layout. Despite her efforts, her otherworldly grace made her stand out, like a comet streaking across a night sky. Her first day was a whirlwind of introductions, both to her human classmates and to the few other alien students who called Jefferson High their learning ground. The teachers were kind, going out of their way to make her feel welcome. But Zara could sense the hesitation hidden behind some of their smiles. It was a look she was learning to recognize, one that said, "You're welcome here, but you're not one of us." Lunchtime found Zara in the cafeteria, a vast room filled with the clamor of 100 conversations and the clatter of trays. She chose a secluded table in the corner, hoping to find solace in her solitude. As she unpacked her meal, a collection of Proximan delicacies that looked nothing like the food her classmates were eating, she couldn't help but feel a pang of homesickness. Back on Proxima B, she had never eaten alone. The isolation was short-lived. A group of students, led by a boy with a confident swagger, approached her table. Jake, as she would come to know him, was the unofficial leader of a clique that thrived on asserting their dominance over those they deemed different or vulnerable. They began with veiled questions, thinly disguised as curiosity, but their true intent soon became clear. Their questions turned mocking, laughter at her expense filling the air around her. Zara attempted to deflect their barbs with dignity, but each laugh felt like a wound to her spirit. She had come to Earth with dreams of learning, of making new friends, and perhaps of finding a second home. Instead, she found herself an outsider, an object of ridicule. As the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, Zara gathered her things with trembling hands. The excitement and hope she had felt upon arriving at Jefferson High had evaporated, leaving behind a cold dread for the days to come. She didn't notice the quiet boy watching from a distance, nor could she have known that this moment would mark the beginning of an unexpected journey, one that would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone at Jefferson High. As the days turned into weeks, Zara's initial optimism about her new life on Earth began to fade, tarnished by the relentless campaign led by Jake and his followers. The group, emboldened by their perceived superiority and the passive acquiescence of their classmates, escalated their efforts to isolate and humiliate her. Jake, a tall human with a broad build and a smirk that seldom left his face, had quickly identified Zara as an easy target. In his eyes, she was everything he was not, gentle, unassuming, and distinctly different in her alien beauty. Jake found power in preying on those differences, using them as a weapon to fortify his own status among his peers. The cafeteria incidents became a daily ritual. Jake and his entourage would wait for Zara to sit down before approaching her table under the guise of curiosity. Their questions, initially veiled as innocent interest, quickly turned into sharp jabs about her appearance, her diet, and her customs. "Hey Zara, does that glow-in-the-dark skin come with a dimmer switch?" Jake would ask, prompting laughter from his group while others in the cafeteria watched, some uncomfortable but most indifferent. Zara's attempts to find refuge in the library or secluded parts of the school garden were futile. The bullies seemed to take her avoidance as a challenge, seeking her out with even greater zeal. They ridiculed her speech, mimicking her accent in exaggerated tones that bore no resemblance to her actual voice. They made jokes about her starry eyes, asking if she navigated through the hallways by constellations. The teachers, for all their initial warmth, seemed oblivious to the undercurrents of tension and malice. Either they were genuinely unaware of the extent of the bullying or chose to turn a blind eye, prioritizing the semblance of peace over the well-being of a student who was quickly becoming an outcast. Amidst this growing storm of hostility, Zara found herself retreating further into her shell. She spoke less in class, her contributions shrinking to the point of non-existence. The vibrant girl who had once been eager to share her perspectives from another world was now silent, her luminescence dimmed by the shadows of exclusion. But not everyone was content to stand by and watch. Alex, a human boy with a quiet demeanor and an observant eye, had watched the situation unfold from the sidelines. Unlike Jake and his followers, Alex felt a growing unease with the treatment Zara was receiving. He saw in her a kindred spirit, someone who, like him, was different in a world that often prized conformity above all else. Alex had his own reasons for keeping to the shadows. A lover of books and solitude, he had learned early on that standing out in any way could attract unwanted attention. Yet, as he witnessed Zara's plight, a sense of injustice began to stir within him. He knew what it was like to feel alone, to be misunderstood. And though he had not yet found the courage to act, the seeds of change had been planted. Each day, as he watched Zara navigate her trials with a quiet dignity, Alex's resolve grew stronger. He began to understand that sometimes standing up for what is right is more important than staying safe in the shadows. Alex's days at Jefferson High were a blend of routine and solitude. He found solace in the pages of his books, in the quiet corners of the library where the world's noise faded to a whisper. Yet, the tranquility he sought was increasingly marred by the scenes unfolding around him. Zara's struggle was a silent storm that raged within the school's walls, visible to those who chose to see it. From the outset, Alex had noticed Zara's otherworldly grace, her quiet strength in the face of unwarranted cruelty. He saw the way she navigated the hallways, her gaze lowered, not in defeat but in a bid to avoid further confrontation. Her presence stirred something within him, a desire to reach out, to offer friendship and support. Yet fear held him back, the fear of becoming a target himself, of stepping into the line of fire. His observations extended beyond the corridors and classrooms. At lunch, he watched from his usual spot as Zara sat alone, her meal untouched, a beacon of isolation in the bustling cafeteria. He saw the looks she received, the whispered comments, and the outright laughter. And he saw the way she bore it all with a resilience that was both heartbreaking and inspiring. The bullies, with Jake at their helm, were relentless. Their tactics were varied, each designed to chip away at Zara's spirit. They spread rumors, concocted elaborate pranks, and took every opportunity to remind her that she didn't belong. It wasn't just Zara who was affected. The atmosphere of the school had shifted. A tension hung in the air, a sense of unease that went largely unaddressed by the faculty. Alex's empathy for Zara grew with each passing day. In her, he saw not just a victim of bullying, but a fellow soul cast adrift in a sea of indifference. His own experiences with isolation, while different in context, resonated with the pain he saw in her. He knew what it was to feel invisible, to wish for someone, anyone, to acknowledge his existence. It was during one particularly cruel incident that Alex's resolve began to crystallize. Zara had been cornered by Jake and his followers after school, her path blocked by sneering faces. The jeers were louder, more venomous, and for the first time Alex saw the impact. Zara's usual composure was shattered. Her distress was palpable, even from a distance. Something shifted within Alex at that moment. The sidelines, once a place of refuge, now felt like a prison. The silence he had wrapped around himself like a cloak felt heavy, suffocating. He realized then that his fear of becoming a target was dwarfed by the guilt of remaining silent. The decision to intervene was not made lightly. Alex understood the risks, the potential repercussions. But as he lay awake that night, replaying the day's events in his mind, he knew that the cost of inaction was far greater. He could no longer be just a quiet observer. The following day, Alex made a choice that would alter the course of not only his own life, but Zara's as well. He would stand up, speak out, and in doing so, bridge the gap between two worlds that had seemed irreconcilably apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the grounds of Jefferson High as students began their end-of-day exodus. Amidst the cacophony of slamming lockers and eager chatter, a palpable tension simmered beneath the surface, unbeknownst to many. For Alex, the final bell was not a signal of freedom, but a call to action. His decision to intervene had solidified into a resolve that thrummed in his veins with every heartbeat. As the hallways emptied, Alex's steps took him not towards the exit, but back into the heart of the school. He had overheard whispers of another planned confrontation against Zara, this time in the secluded area behind the gym, a favorite spot for Jake and his entourage due to its lack of surveillance. The thought of Zara facing them alone again tightened something in Alex's chest. He arrived just in time to witness the beginnings of the confrontation. Jake, with his usual bravado, was leading the charge, backed by a handful of his most loyal followers. They had formed a semicircle around Zara, who stood with her back against the wall, her posture defiant yet betrayed by the slight tremor in her stance. The bully's words were a blur, a cacophony of cruelty that Alex barely registered. He saw Zara's attempt to respond, her voice steady but drowned out by their laughter. It was a scene Alex had witnessed in silence too many times, but today, silence was no longer an option. Stepping forward, Alex felt as though he was moving through molasses, each step heavier than the last. His heart pounded in his ears, drowning out the sounds of the confrontation. As he broke through the perimeter of onlookers, a sudden hush fell over the crowd. "Leave her alone," Alex said, his voice stronger than he felt. The bullies turned towards him, their expressions a mix of surprise and amusement. Jake, ever the ringleader, stepped forward, a smirk playing on his lips. "And what are you going to do about it?" Jake taunted, expecting Alex to back down as he always had. For a moment, Alex faltered, the weight of attention and expectation bearing down on him. But then, he saw Zara, her eyes wide with surprise and something else. Hope. It was that look that steeled his resolve. "I'm not going to let you continue harassing her," Alex declared, his voice gaining strength. "This ends now." The standoff that followed was tense. Jake, unaccustomed to being challenged, especially by someone like Alex, hesitated. The onlookers, a mixture of Jake's supporters and those who had been silently disapproving of the bullying, waited with bated breath. It was the intervention of a teacher, drawn by the crowd, that ultimately diffused the situation. As the teacher approached, Jake and his followers dispersed, throwing veiled threats over their shoulders. The crowd followed suit, leaving Alex and Zara alone in the aftermath. The moment of truth had passed, but its impact lingered in the air. Alex, who had always preferred the background, had stepped into the light, challenging the status quo. And Zara, for the first time since arriving at Jefferson High, had found an ally. Their eyes met, and without a word, a bond was formed. In the days that followed Alex's bold intervention, the atmosphere at Jefferson High began to shift. Word of the confrontation behind the gym spread like wildfire, morphing through the grapevine into a tale that bordered on legend. The quiet, unassuming Alex had stood up to Jake and his band of bullies, not with fists, but with courage and conviction. The initial reaction among the students was one of surprise, mixed with a newfound respect for Alex. Whispers followed him through the hallways, not of ridicule, but of admiration. The bullies, wary of attracting further attention from the faculty, who had now been alerted to the ongoing harassment, gave her a wide berth. The looks of pity and amusement that had once followed her were replaced with nods of acknowledgement, and in some cases, smiles of support. Yet, the true transformation was not in the halls of Jefferson High, but within Alex and Zara themselves. Alex, who had long resigned himself to the role of the observer, found a new sense of purpose. Standing up for Zara had lifted the veil of invisibility that he had both resented and hidden behind. He found himself engaging more with his peers, participating in class, and walking the school corridors with a confidence he had never felt before. For Zara, the change was equally profound. Alex's intervention had not just freed her from the immediate torment of the bullies, it had shown her that she was not alone. For the first time since arriving on Earth, she felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that maybe, just maybe, she could find her place here. The loneliness that had clung to her like a shadow began to recede, chased away by the light of friendship. The bond between Alex and Zara grew stronger in the wake of their shared experience. They spent their lunch breaks together, often joined by others who were drawn to their quiet strength and resilience. Conversations flowed easily, spanning topics from Earth's history to the customs of Proxima B. Zara, once hesitant to share her heritage, now spoke openly about her planet, her family, and the life she had left behind. In turn, Alex shared his love for literature and his dreams of writing stories that could bridge worlds. As their friendship deepened, others began to take notice. The students who had once stood by silently, either out of fear or indifference, were inspired by Alex and Zara's example. They started to stand up for their peers, challenging the culture of bullying and exclusion that had taken root in some corners of Jefferson High. Teachers and administrators, now more aware of the issues within their school, implemented new programs aimed at fostering inclusivity and understanding among the diverse student body. The transformation was not overnight, and there were still challenges to face. Jake and his followers, though less overt in their harassment, still simmered with resentment. The specter of prejudice and misunderstanding did not vanish entirely, but the tide had turned. The school was becoming a place where diversity was celebrated, where students could learn not just from their textbooks, but from each other. In the wake of their newfound camaraderie, Alex and Zara became beacons of change within Jefferson High. Their alliance, once an emergency response to a crisis, evolved into a deep and enduring friendship. They were an uncommon pair. Alex, with his introspective nature and love for Earth's classics, and Zara, with her celestial beauty and insights from a world beyond the stars. Together, they navigated the complexities of high school life, drawing a circle of inclusivity around them that expanded with each passing day. Their friendship served as a bridge between diverse student groups, encouraging dialogues that had never before taken place within the school's walls. Zara's extraterrestrial perspective on universal themes, like justice, community, and resilience, enriched classroom discussions, providing her peers with a broader understanding of the galaxy's vast tapestry of life. Alex, meanwhile, found his voice not only in defending Zara, but in advocating for others who felt marginalized or misunderstood. His writings, once confined to private notebooks, were now featured in the school's literary magazine, touching on themes of friendship, bravery, and the beauty of diversity. The transformation of their personal landscapes mirrored the changes sweeping through Jefferson High. Zara's involvement in the science club led to an interspecies gardening project, where plants from various planets were cultivated. This initiative became a metaphor for the student body's growing diversity, illustrating that with care and understanding, different life forms could thrive together. Alex's writing group became a sanctuary for those who had stories to tell, but no platform to share them. It attracted a mosaic of students, humans and aliens alike, eager to express their individual experiences and learn from one another. Under Alex's guidance, the group published a collection of stories and poems that celebrated their collective journey towards acceptance and understanding. The publication was a hit, not just within the school, but in the wider community, sparking conversations about the importance of empathy and the power of shared narratives. As their senior year progressed, Alex and Zara found themselves at the center of a cultural shift within Jefferson High. The bullying that had once seemed endemic was now a receding shadow, a remnant of a less enlightened time. Jake and his ilk, now outliers, found their influence waning as the school's culture grew increasingly intolerant of intolerance. The pinnacle of Alex and Zara's high school journey was the establishment of the Jefferson Unity Festival, a celebration of the diverse cultures and species that made up the student body. The festival was a kaleidoscope of music, art, and cuisine from across the galaxy, symbolizing the harmony that could be achieved when differences were embraced rather than feared. Zara, with her radiant smile, led a presentation on Proxima b, captivating her audience with tales of her home planet's traditions and landscapes. Alex, ever the wordsmith, delivered a speech on the power of unity and the importance of standing up for one another, drawing a standing ovation from the crowd. As the final days of their senior year at Jefferson High dwindled to a close, the impact of Alex and Zara's journey was palpable across the campus. The school that had once been a battleground of prejudices and misunderstanding had transformed into a model of unity and acceptance. This transformation was not confined to the student body. It resonated through the faculty and staff, prompting a reevaluation of teaching methods and curricular content to better reflect the diverse galaxy they inhabited. The Unity Festival had left an indelible mark on the school's culture, becoming a symbol of the collective journey from division to harmony. It was a vivid demonstration of how diversity, once a source of conflict, had become the school's strongest asset. The festival was not just a celebration, but a declaration of a new identity for Jefferson High, a place where beings from all corners of the galaxy could come together to learn, grow, and understand one another. In the lead-up to graduation, the school buzzed with anticipation and reflection. Seniors, once segregated by cliques and species, now mingled freely, sharing hopes for the future and memories of the past. Under the guidance of teachers inspired by the changes they had witnessed, students engaged in projects that bridged academic learning with real-world issues, focusing on collaboration, empathy, and innovation. Alex and Zara, in their own quiet way, continued to lead by example. They were partners in a capstone project that combined Zara's deep knowledge of extraterrestrial ecosystems with Alex's talent for storytelling. Together, they created a virtual reality experience that transported users to the diverse planets of their classmates, offering a first-person perspective on the beauty and challenges of life across the galaxy. Their project was a hit at the school's year-end showcase, earning accolades from students and teachers alike for its creativity and its message of universal interconnectedness. Graduation day arrived with a bittersweet mix of excitement and nostalgia. As the senior class gathered in the auditorium, the air was thick with the anticipation of new beginnings and the sadness of farewells. Alex and Zara, seated side by side, shared a look of quiet gratitude for the journey they had shared, a journey that had changed not only their lives, but the very fabric of Jefferson High. The ceremony was a reflection of the school's transformed spirit. The valedictorian's speech, delivered by a student from Titan, spoke of the unity in diversity they had achieved, highlighting the importance of empathy and understanding in a galaxy that was increasingly interconnected. The school principal, in her closing remarks, praised Alex and Zara without naming them, lauding the courage and compassion of two students who had sparked a movement towards inclusivity and respect. As diplomas were awarded and caps were thrown into the air, Alex and Zara stepped into the future with a sense of purpose. They had witnessed firsthand the power of individual action to effect collective change.